My pleasure.
So much to discuss. Where are you in the investigation of influence peddling for the Biden family? I want to get your take on what we're going to hear next week from the whistleblowers. But what can you tell us now about your investigation? What have you learned?
Well, we've learned, obviously, there have been more bank transactions. This family's been receiving money from all over the planet. I think everyone knows that watches Fox News, but unfortunately, people that get their news from other outlets aren't as educated on it. So Wednesday, we're bringing the whistleblowers in. These are very credible career IRS employees who have never blown the whistle on anything. One is a very partisan registered Democrat, so we're excited that it's going to be a bipartisan panel. We're going to be able to ask them very specific, substantive questions about crimes that have been committed by various members of the Biden family. There's a lot of talk back and forth about, well, they should have been charged with money laundering, or they should have been charged with wire fraud, or they should have been an unregistered foreign agent. What level of tax evasion did they really have? We're going to be able to dive into that in a public setting where every American is going to have the opportunity to watch this hearing live. And I think that the American people are going to be very satisfied with the answers that we get. And I'm excited, Maria, because we found all these shell companies that make absolutely no sense. I don't believe they've paid a penny of revenue, a penny of taxes on most of this millions of dollars that they've received from our adversaries around the world. But then the question is, what did they do to receive this money? How did they list that on their taxes? As a service they provided, as a capital investment? We don't know. So if you're into finance, like most of your viewers are, this should be a good substantive committee hearing that will allow us to move forward in the deposition process when we bring these individuals that were helping the Bidens funnel and launder this money. We'll be able to ask them specific questions about specific transactions.
Have you been able to identify specific policy decisions that Joe Biden made as a reason to get paid? For example, he came into the White House at the beginning of his term and he canceled the China initiative, which was an initiative to indict people who were sending information to the CCP while they surveilled us and spied on us. Was he paid for that decision?
Yeah, I mean, you look who President Biden had go in and advocate for that was the then president of the University of Pennsylvania, who he's now made an ambassador to Germany. But remember, what we've learned is University of Pennsylvania was the recipient of tens of millions of dollars of anonymous donations from China. So who better to go and advocate to abandon the China initiative, which was an FBI investigation into the massive Chinese spy ring that China has at our colleges and universities that conduct research, where American taxpayers subsidize this research and development, and Chinese students steal that technology, steal that information, and send it back to China. Every American should want that stopped, but Joe Biden ended that. Ended the FBI's investigation into that with someone who's received tens of millions of dollars from China, just like Joe Biden. That is a bad decision for the American people. That puts China first and America last. Then you look at what all happened with Burisma, with firing the prosecutor. That we've talked about that in the past, but I think you're going to see more and more evidence come forward that Joe Biden had a lot more knowledge about Burisma than what he's ever claimed. So I think that we're now at the phase of the investigation where we've accumulated enough bank records to where we can ask these IRS employees specific, substantive questions, and now bring the people in for depositions and say, what triggered this wire transfer from China? What triggered this wire transfer from Romania? And why did you launder it through all these shell companies? Why didn't they just send it directly to the Bidens? We're going to be able to answer those questions publicly to where every American can see it.
Yeah, that's really compelling. And it's just incredible the amount of money that we're talking about and the